So thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for your input. We are very fortunate to hear from a dear friend of mine who will discuss the birth of Imam Mahdi, a miraculous birth, how it happened, and the events that led up to the birth of Imam Mahdi. I give to you Mr. Mateen Charbonneau. Mateen. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Everybody hear me okay? All right.
Let's give that a try. Why not?
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out here tonight and taking your time and coming to learn about Imam Mahdi, alayhi salam. And first of all, I want to say that we're not here just to learn about some regular personality or somebody who came through history and came and gone, and or we just come to celebrate a day out of the year, but we came to recognize and learn about the Hujjatullahi fi ardi, the proof of Allah on His earth, and the Hujjatullahi ala khalqi, the proof of Allah on His creation, the Baqiyatullahi fi ardi, the remnant of Allah in the earth. Imam Sahib al-Zaman, the master of our time, Imam Mahdi, Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Salawat ala Muhammad wa Alright, I'm going to talk about the birth of Imam Mahdi, alayhi salam. But first, I need to lead up to the events that led to the birth. So we're going to talk about the circumstances that surrounded the time when he was born. So, as the doctor said in her speech, that not a lot of people knew about Imam Mahdi and the birth because it was kind of secret. It was really the time people were on high alert. They already witnessed the 11 imams that came before, so they're all listening and watching. They're looking for the 12th imam because he's going to be the one that brings justice and peace to the earth. So everybody's looking for him. Same way with Nabi Musa alayhi salam. So let's see. The Quran referred to this in Surah 1781. It said, "Say the truth has come and falsehood has vanished. Certainly falsehood is bound to vanish." This was prophesizing the birth of Imam Mahdi because he was the one that's going to come and restore justice to the earth. So the tyrants of the time, they wanted to silence this. Same thing with Pharaoh in the Quran with Nabi Musa. The Quran says in Surah 24, ayahs 4 through 5, "Indeed, Pharaoh exalted himself in the land and made its people into factions, oppressing a sector among them, slaughtering their newborn sons and keeping their females alive. Indeed, he was of the corruptors. And we wanted to confer favor upon those who were oppressed in the land and make them the leaders and make them the inheritors." So Pharaoh would go around and try to he would kill the male children of all the women because he wanted to catch Musa. And the same thing was going on in this time with the tyrants. They wanted to catch Imam Mahdi's birth so they could kill the son. So they had Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam under tight surveillance, had him on house arrest, and they would even send spies into the house so that they could check on the women and see which one showed signs of pregnancy. But it was like Mahdi was saying, it was miraculous birth. So part of it was that the signs of the pregnancy were concealed. Nobody knew which one of the wives was going to have the child, etc. And so I'm going to go into next about the marriage of Imam Hassan al-Askari with Nargis, so we can see about his mother. So there's a question that I want to say is like, how did a Christian woman end up becoming the mother of an imam? There's a lot of people, they don't know that Nargis, before she was from a Christian lineage, she was a descendant of Simon, the disciple of Jesus, Prophet Jesus alayhi salam. Her original name was Malika, and she was related to the Byzantine Caesar and also a descendant of Simon. There's also another narration that people can go into and look in your time from Sheikh Khulaini and Sheikh Saduq that states she was from African descent as well. So there's two different stories, and I'll leave that up to the individuals. They can go and do their research because I don't have that much time to go into that. Okay, so basically Nargis, they tried to marry her before, and they brought all the priests and all the people to the palace. And every time they tried to marry her, there would be like an earthquake and like natural stuff started, crosses started falling down off of the walls.
The name is not pronounced Nargis, it's pronounced Nargis.
Okay. Maybe you can help me with that. In Farsi, maybe in Arabic, it's a little different. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, Nargis, I'll go with his pronunciation, the Farsi version, had a dream where she saw the Prophet. And she saw the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, and the members of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam, and then she saw them gathered with Prophet Jesus alayhi salam. So the Prophet, she saw them in the dream. The Prophet asked Jesus and Simon for their hand in marriage for Nargis, for his great grandson Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. So Jesus accepted. This was in her dream. So she woke up happy, but she didn't tell anybody. She was kind of like, what was all this about? I'm Christian, I'm related to the Caesar and whatnot. So she didn't tell anybody. So time went by, and she had another dream, and she saw Lady Mary alayhi salam with Lady Fatima alayhi salam together. So Fatima came to her and told her that if she wanted to be with her great grandson Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, that she would need to accept Islam. So she gladly agreed, and she accepted Islam at the hands of Fatima alayhi salam. So Fatima took her to see Imam Hassan al-Askari, and this is all in her dream. So she's going through this process, and she's having these dreams, and later on down the line, she has another dream, not too long after. Let's say she had a dream and she saw Imam Askari alayhi salam, and she asked him, when will I be able to be with you? I see you in my dreams and you come to me, but when can I actually be with you physically? So he told her in the dream that the Caesar was going to invade the Muslim lands, and they were going to, she should dress up as a captive, like a slave, like a maidservant, and then she should go into the Muslim territory, and she would be captured just to play along. And once she got to the Muslim territory, she could be captured, and then she should wait there with a letter. Somebody will come with a letter from his father, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, and in her language. So this is the advice that he gave her in the dream. So she followed through with it, and she dressed up as the maidservant, and she got to the Muslim land. She was captured. They took her to Baghdad, and they put her as a for sale. They were trying to get money for her. So Imam Hadi alayhi salam had a servant named Bushr, and he gave him 220 dinar and a letter which was written in Nargis language, and it had a seal on it. So he sent Bushr to Baghdad, said, look for the slave traders, and when you see a lady, they're going to try to remove her veil from her, and she's going to cry out in her language. This is a foreign language from the Byzantine Empire. And he said, go to her and give her that letter that had the seal, because it's in her language. And then you're going to take the money that I give you, and you're going to purchase Nargis from the slave trader. So all this happened. Bushr went, and he was wondering about everything, and he saw the same incidents take place. He purchased her and then brought her back, and he was asking her about, what is all this, and what is this letter I gave you, because he couldn't read it wasn't his language. And she started speaking to him in Arabic and narrating the events that took place. The same thing I was telling you about the dream. She was telling Bushr about the dream on their way back. So when they returned, Imam Hadi welcomed her and offered her a gift. He said, either you can have 10,000 dinar or the good news of everlasting honor. So he pretty much offered her a whole lot of money, so you could have this money and be rich and wealthy. But she came from royalty, so maybe she wanted the everlasting honor, because she knew this was the good thing, and she had already been in contact with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam through her dreams. So she took the everlasting honor. So Imam Hadi alayhi salam told her that a son will be born to her that will fill the earth with justice. So she asked him, who will I have this son by? And Imam Hadi replied in her language, by the one whom Prophet Muhammad and Jesus gave you in marriage on the night of so-and-so and the month of so-and-so, and related the whole thing in detail to let her know that he knows these things of the unseen, of the ilm al-ghaib. So she said, yeah, your son Imam Hassan al-Askari. And he asked if she knew him, and she replied, there was not a night that he didn't visit her since she embraced Islam at the hands of Fatima alayha salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, so this was about the marriage and the circumstances. So now we're going to come down to the actual birth and what happened from the narratives. It said the aunt of Imam Askari alayhi salam, her name was Lady Hakima, and she was visiting that Thursday in the middle of Shaaban in the year 255 AH, and she was about to leave that night after visiting throughout the day. And the Imam said, why don't you stay with us? And she said, no, I have to go, I have stuff to do. And he said, no, you should stay, because my son's going to be born tonight. And like you were saying, it was very secretive, and not a lot of people knew. And this was his aunt, and she was like, really? I don't see anybody in the house that's pregnant. Who's going to have this baby? So he said that it was going to be Nargis. So she went and checked out Nargis, but it was like, came back to Imam and said, no, I don't see any signs of pregnancy. I don't doubt you because you're the Imam, but I don't see any signs of pregnancy. Could you explain to me? And he was like, no, don't worry, and reassured her. And he explained that it was going to be similar to the birth of Musa alayhi salam, that would be secretly without any signs or symbols of signs of pregnancy. So she stayed that night, and shortly before the sunrise, the signs of pregnancy appeared in Nargis. So she started to give birth, and she said that this great light appeared in between her and Nargis, because she was there to help Nargis. Great light appeared in between her and Nargis, and then she ran out of the room and got Imam Hadi alayhi salam, and he was saying, Imam Askari alayhi salam, and when they returned, the child was in sajda, in prostration, and he had been born, and he was praising Allah. He was testifying to all the prophethood of the Prophet and Muhammad and his great grandfather and all the other previous imams. So he testified all the shahadas, and when he reached his name, he said, "O Allah, fulfill what you have promised unto me, and fill the earth with justice and equity through me." So this was the narration of what I had about the birth of Imam Mahdi. Thank you all for your time. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.